All right, guys, the watch list for November 16th, which would be a Monday. Part of me wants to start with Best Buy, which is BBY here. And there's nothing I like about the chart, but I can't help but think a lot of people shot their TVs last night when Bernie Sanders said terrorism is a direct result of global warming. There may be a lot of TVs being replaced, but all kidding aside, let's actually get to the list. STRP. That was funny to me, I'm sorry. STRP, just another down day, but again, this is extremely... I don't know, coiled's not the right word. It's extremely oversold though, and let's go to 15-minute candles here. It's starting to, the pitch of the decline is starting to, lessen. And so maybe finding some support here. And again, when you go back to the daily, got to go back pretty far, but it definitely traded in this $10 area, between 10, 9, 8, somewhere in this area back here for a long time. So a lot of times that can be support, especially when you've fallen this far this quickly. So this is a great candidate for a day trader. Now remember, if you're a day trader, you got to have a day trader mentality. We're looking for quick moves and in and out, right? I spend most of my time in cash waiting for perfect setups. All right, so there you go, STRP. Let me go back to 15-minute candles one more time. You can see this is a great example, and this is about 4 or 5 days ago. It went from 1167 to 1489 in 15 minutes. All right, you can make a whole week's worth of money on one trade like that. So whenever I see that, and I know how beaten up a stock is, I definitely want to have it on watch the next day. All right, CERN or CERN. Let me pan way out and show you why that line is there. Okay, all the way back last October had a really nice bounce from this area, and again, really far from the moving average. It's getting ahead of itself to the downside. So I'm looking for a bounce on this one. And just to give you an example real quick, Under Armour, okay, Under Armour UA, a really kind of a former Wall Street darling. Under Armour was, this is just an example of how you can make money by being in the right place at the right time day trading. Under Armour was getting beaten up pretty strongly and taking out the lows. If you look, anytime something's getting what I call intraday shape to the downside, okay, and Under Armour certainly qualified here, right? It's getting really fast. These are 5-minute candles, getting massive volume. And there's that line. If I go back to the daily, this is the line. So I had a line at the a very clear recent low on the chart, right? And that was October 23rd. Okay, so it's falling really fast to take out the lows of October 23rd. It's getting ahead of itself on an intraday basis. Couple that with the fact that the 200-day moving average is right there. And it was just, after gapping down, had fallen a long way to breach the 200-day. Anytime I get that, okay, and so you get under a line like that. Let me go back one more time to the daily. If you notice, the 200-day is a little bit below those October lows. So you got a couple potential places where it would bounce, okay? So when you get in that area and then you get under those lows, I always look for a reversal down in that area because you can get some really nice snapbacks. You've got people late to the game shorting it, right? So switch to 2-minute candles. I just called it, literally, look at the volume there. I called it long if it got back above this candle at 86.80, which it did. And literally, these are 4, 6, 8 minutes maybe later. It's up well over $1 and ended up going farther than that. It ended up going actually up almost $2 to 88.65 at one point. As a day trader, that's good, easy money. So there's an example of being in the right place at the right time on an intraday basis, okay? Again, remember, I'm a day trader. I never hold anything overnight. MW, Men's Warehouse. Again, just another example of something getting ahead of itself. I don't look on the chart and say, hey, there's great support really anywhere that I can see. I mean, I could draw a line. This looks to be like 1750 back here, and it's at 1890. I don't hate that. You do have an area back there around 1750, so that's an area of interest. But when you have to go back that far, for support, it's not super support. But irrespective of that, I love the fact that this was $40 about a little bit over a week ago, right? So it's been more than cut in half in a week. So that is just an interesting, forget any support, that's just an interesting setup for a potential bounce. All right. One of my favorite setups for a bounce play would be if it gapped down, and the market may gap down because of Paris. So I don't know. We'll see Monday morning. But if it gaps down, that can give us one of our most powerful setups for a long, depending on how it trades on an intraday basis. So GMCR, breached the August lows. I've been watching this for a bounce, and it's just headed lower. That's still a name that if it can get any kind of intraday setup for a possible long and the market's holding up, that's still a name that could bounce back really quick. They had a really nice trade in GMCR a couple days ago. And just a few sessions ago, this was 52. So it's down $10 in about 4 sessions or so. That's still, even though it's below the August lows, a lot of times it'll do that and then reverse pretty nicely. So that's going to depend, as are all of these, going to depend on the overall market. Okay. TJ Maxx, big volume after gapping down on Friday. And there's an old line up here. Let's just move it. All right, so whatever I do when something's kind of free falling, I always look to the left on the chart and see if it had any kind of clearly defined lows where it bounced really strongly from. And you definitely had that back here on April 29th. It hit a low of 63.66. Again, that's not like a concrete wall that if it touches it, I'm going long, right? It'll still depend on intraday, but I'd like to see it get below this line and then see if it gives us a reversal setup like Under Armour did on Friday. That's fallen pretty far, pretty fast. That's TJX. HAIN. You can see a line on this chart too. I've got to go way back. But still, nice bounces off the, and then again, it's an area. It's not exact number, but nice bounces off 40 here, here, here. A sweep down here and right back up. Pretty close here, and you'll notice again the same theme. It's fallen pretty far, pretty quickly, right? About 5 sessions ago, this was about $47. All right, so we get down near 40, and it's at 41.46 right now. I'll be watching for a reversal on an intraday basis. And the nice thing about a lot of these is you're not going to get in trouble on Monday morning. None of these are going to be, hey, we're jumping in at the open. We're going to let the setups unfold and then take them if everything's in our favor. Okay. GoPro. Again, there's no support here. This is new all-time lows, but it's fallen just in 4 days from like $26 down to the low on Friday was $20.76. This is a name, GoPro. It's a big name. If this can get down maybe just below the psychological hold number 20, an interesting place to look for a reversal. I believe this line is at the IPO lows if I scroll back. Yeah, well, no, it isn't. I'm not sure what that's just an old line from a pre-market probably. Take that off of there. So even though this is not a bullish looking chart, in the very short term, it could be ahead of itself to the downside. And GoPro is also a name when people start to think, hey, this is going today, or hey, this is bottomed, it's finally reversing. You can get people piling in pretty quick. TERP was on bounce watch for Friday. And I never took a trade in this one, but you can see, I was right about it, getting to new all-time lows and a fairly recent IPO. A lot of these do reverse once they do that, and it did exactly that. I know some people in the chat room did make money on that on an early flag break. I didn't do anything with it. And then lastly, let's go with CSTM, and this is just a relative strength play. Just huge move here, pulled back, and then within a weak market, let's glance at the SPY real quick. Look at the overall market. It's almost in a free fall, 3 days straight down in a row. I don't have the 50-day on this chart, but I do on this little version of my daily chart. 50-day looks to be around $200.81. That might be an area where we could look for a bounce. And also just the psychological whole number of 200. So with the SPY in a free fall, let's go back to CSTM. This thing's been holding up really well. So you talk about relative strength. Do I have an exact trigger? Will I buy it? No, because I don't know how the market's going to open on Monday. I'm going to wait and see, and then once we get the open behind us, we'll find plenty to trade on Monday. So, but CSTM, because it's holding up well, I'm going to have that on long watch. As always, we'll work together in the hour before the open on Monday and spot some gap plays too, and trade those accordingly. Look for reversal plays as the day unfolds. Not a lot of breakout plays right now because of that SPY chart I just showed you. So a lot of what I'm looking for are these stocks that are ahead of themselves to the downside, coming near support. Should be some really good trades this week. All right, I'm going to quit babbling. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see everybody on Monday.